Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hannah Kupoluyi, the founder of All Women's Network. And so my network is actually dedicated to women who are facing socio-economical barriers, abuse, as well as financial challenges. And so what we do is we actually put together workshops, training, and personal development program to be able to help them, to give them the opportunity to have confidence, as well as to be able to rebuild their life. So I'm a business coach. I'm also a speaker, as well as a podcast host and a mentor and a trainer. And so I'm very passionate about fostering growth and resilience in the women that we support. In addition to my work, I'm also a foster board panel where I assess fostering applications to ensure that children are placed in a safe place. And so it's all about really speaking on violence against women today. And so we are so privileged to have such a wonderful, esteemed panels of professionals. And so each of them will be bringing a unique insight and expertise to this crucial conversation. And today we have a panel which includes human rights activists. We also have experts in domestic abuse prevention, as well as, advocates against human trafficking and UN Peace Federation ambassador. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my wonderful panel speakers. So first and foremost, I would like to invite the wonderful His Excellency, Dr. Saf Berksey. Please give him a round of applause. You're welcome. And also, I would love to also introduce to you Rumi Dooley, who is an interim chair at London Refugee. Please give her a round of applause as well. I would also like to invite Jamie, who is actually from the United Hearts organization. And also to have Muriel Corbett-Owen to join us, as well as Ada Gatami and Aria to join us on the stage. Please give them a round of applause. Are you all comfortable to be able to share a lot of knowledge today? Yeah? Good to go. Excellent. From human rights perspective, the most significant barrier to ending violence against women is often the disparity between international law and its implementation on the ground. And so to effectively bridge the gap between global frameworks and local realities, we need more collaboration. And I think from the first panel, we've actually touched on collaboration, cross-collaboration, because you can't do it yourself if you're going through domestic abuse. You need a good collaboration. And so we need more collaborative efforts that involve communities and government. And so my question is, from human rights perspective, what are the biggest global challenges in ending violence against women, and how can international frameworks better support local efforts?
Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. My name is Arya Timuri. I'm an advocate at Paiwan Afghan Association. We help refugees with mental health issues, advocacy and immigration-related services. We actually serve all citizens of London, including refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers. I won't take much of your time today. I'm from Afghanistan, and I would like to take you to Afghanistan for a few minutes with me. Imagine living in a country that girls' education is banned. Afghanistan is the only country in the entire world where girls are banned from attending secondary education and also higher education. Form a picture of yourself having daughters and sisters and being unable to send them to school. The new government in Afghanistan prohibits women from leaving their homes without a male chaperone. Even if there is a man in a household, it still feels terrifying to depend on someone for stepping out of your home. But what if there is no man in a family? I appreciate the international organizations' collaborations for gender apartheid for gender apartheid recognition in Afghanistan. On October 4, 2024, the European Court of Justice ruled that gender and nationality alone are sufficient for an Afghan woman to be granted asylum. I thank all the institutions and activists that support Afghan women who evacuated and live outside Afghanistan. But what about many women who are still in Afghanistan and they will be there for the rest of their lives? I am concerned, and everyone should be. I think no one is free until we are all free. And I will get back to your question. I think we should start from ourselves. Everyone should feel responsible towards supporting women. We shouldn't, like most of the time, we put on an organization, on police, on a social worker to support women. I think we should start from ourselves. It's like in a society like UK, we should start like from ourselves. But in a society like Afghanistan, we should put pressure on the government of Afghanistan. And it's only possible by international organization support, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think you're definitely right. It's about sort of supporting local efforts and also making sure that we are strong enough to be able to push for international accountability. I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think I will stand out. I feel too much going on here, and I really like the topic. Mm-hmm. As an activist myself for women, human rights, and a victim, that I was myself there. I'm a survivor. For those who know me, and for those who really know me, so my name is Ada Garteman. I am a person who I think and believe in myself, that I can be a better person, and I can do a lot to serve other peoples around the world in my community, but start to love myself, to be able to love my daughter, and forgive this guy who really tried to believe that I was nobody, because I couldn't speak English properly, because every time I was going to the school, he always told me the words they teach me was wrong, and he tried to teach me different English. So then eventually I was like, continue speaking Spanish, English, and I still thinking in that way. So, but it didn't stop me to believe in myself. It didn't stop me until now we can end the violence against women, girls, and the whole world.
Yes.
And today, I want to tell you that since 2020, I'm dedicating every single day to learn myself perfectly as a leader, because I want to teach my daughter how much she can do herself for his country, for her country, but for other women who are suffering around the world, like Asia, Afghanistan, and Latin America. Women over there, they don't have choice because they don't have money. We all know violence starts for money. When I moved here, I was bring my money because I become from wealthy family. My problem was no money. My problem was no education. My problem was no English, because I can speak any language if I want to. My problem, no one told me that someone can gaslight me. My mother never teach me that guys can be very manipulating. They not tell me any signal when someone can use you, abuse you in the same way. If we all together teach every single girl, every single woman next to us, and to our boy, how the manipulation, violence work in the workplace, around politicians, around church religions, around our communities, leaders. around the music leaders, around any single corner that we can touch, step by step. Even in our own bed, someone can abuse you because they can tell us they love us and they can put us drugs. Because drugs now they giving like a piece of bread. So who can stop that? No one can stop that until we stop ourselves with our organization. I have support for a lot of people, even here. They know how much work daily. Because I believe to empower women is the change for the generation. The leadership is important. The healing of the woman. To step up. To know how she can make her money. That she know her value. She can stand with a woman. She cannot be bought for little job title as a director. And tomorrow when they using her in the workplace, they threw it away. But the time happened until she got there. And this one, the abuser abused 1,000 women behind her. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can see the passion inside of you. And it just goes to show that there is so much for us to do as women and men within the comfort of our home. We've got the cultural differences, we've got different types of values and what we believe, and sometimes this plays a major role in domestic abuse. And we've just heard firsthand of how painful it is for her to go through so many experiences in her life. And also, we have to educate our children. We really need to tell them what is right, what they can accept, and what they can't accept. And so it's really crucial for us that when we leave here today, some of the takeaway is, am I educating my child? Am I educating my girl child? Does she understand what is wrong? Does my son understand what he or she should not do? So these are very important. Thank you so much for sharing that. Jamie, I see you want to speak on that as well.
Yes, please. We Asperger's tend to think outside of the box. Sometimes the answer is outside of the question. So we are quoting the Human Rights Declaration. Yes, it is a beautiful poem. Don't quote me in the numbers because I did study this 30 years ago. But by that time, out of 210 countries, 180, as far as I remember, I guess now more, signed the declaration, the poem, nothing else. But it also has the statutes. And only around 100 countries signing the statutes that are not even legally binding. And the main countries that pull this Human Rights Declaration, they didn't sign it. United States, NATO countries to go short. Now, the declaration is a will, empty will, that it doesn't matter the question whether how we can globally put that effort locally, because it was not intended to protect human rights, human beings. As far as I remember, Article 13 talks about free of movement. Section 8, if I'm not wrong, talks about the right of every person to come out of their country. And Section B talks about the right of every person to return to their country. They didn't mention Palestinians, I guess. But there is not a Section C saying that a person has the right to come out from their country and enter to other country. No visa needed. Why there's no this a human right? Because the Human Rights Declaration was simply a poem that fits the interests of the ones who won the Second World War, and that's it. So the question is not relevant. I could say it is not valid because there were not intention at the inception of the human rights to protect human rights.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that additional one. Thank you. And so we're going to move on to male allyship. This is something that we've actually touched on. Even Dr. Birksey has already touched on it a little bit more, but I really want to kind of go a little bit more further. As we understand that male allyship is actually a critical opportunity for men, you know, who are often in a position where they can actually directly challenge harmful behavior, or even sometimes to intervene or advocate, you know, it on our behalf. And so to be able to engage men as allies, we need to actually provide them with the tools for them to be able to understand the dynamics of violence and how the role of power and control in gender-based violence. And so my question is, how can, you know, male allyship be part of being there to kind of support us and be part of the conversation? I'll go with you, sir.
Thank you, Just before I answer that question, I used to work in the prison service as a psychotherapist a few years ago. And I remember my first day when I was asked to see an inmate. This prison was a Category B lifers prison, and it was an inmate in the sex offenders wing. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And what got me through it is that whether we like it or not, these inmates who have committed these horrific crimes on women are going to get released. So what got me through that was that if there's a slight little chance, or because of my input could try and stop him reoffending, that's what got me through actually working with these people. But I remember my first day, I went back and I literally washed my hands because he shook my hand, so I was quite disgusted. But it became my job, and I tried to make a difference. And the one thing that was bizarre is that not one of them, and I must have had about 6 or 7 inmates who committed horrific sexual offences on women, not one of them felt they did anything wrong. Not one of them thought they did anything wrong. It was just, I was shocked. And I would ask these kind of open questions, and they still believe that they didn't do anything wrong. So that tells me that there's a problem here. There's a big problem. It's a big psychological problem. People who do these crimes are sick in the head, right? And is it down to lack of education growing up? Is it because they've experienced abuse themselves, which they did, but doesn't make it right? Yeah. It's all these things. So, incarceration I don't know about, because some of the things I saw happening in that prison was pretty crazy. But I am all for rehabilitation first. So if we can rehabilitate, not condone what's happened, but rehabilitate and see where that gets us, because incarceration doesn't always work. And I was trying to do rehabilitation in the prison, and when they were released, quite a few did come back, so that didn't really work. But it's a difficult one. So yeah, I don't even answer your question, have I?
Yeah,
so in terms of the alliances, yeah. So basically, I mean, it's basically what I said when I spoke. I think, and Margaret said as well, I think we should have more male communities, more male groups, more males involved in this, okay? Because I understand what Ian said, women need to stand up and blah, blah, blah. I understand, but sometimes it can be difficult. Yeah. Okay, so they need the support to stand up. And once they can get that support and get that grounding and get that confidence, they will stand up. But it needs men also to help them stand up, not just other women. And also, potentially, now this might be a controversial comment, but having men who were abusers themselves, who have changed because of rehabilitation, to have them stand up, to have them come out in public, and they will cry because it'll be genuine remorse, and actually say what they did, and apologize, and not only apologize, but actually, so we can learn why did they do what they did? Why were they manipulative? Why were they coercive? Why were they violent? And it is just not physical; it's mental torture as well. And so I think we all coming together, working as a collective, working in communion. That's the only way that we can go forward together.
Definitely, thank you for that.
Can I just add the importance of men realizing that violence is not the solution? Many reasons, but mostly we all know from our work in the community, the domestic violence leads to high numbers of mental health complications, both to women and men and their children. But furthermore, when I used to work for one of the biggest homelessness charities in central London, majority of our clients were victims of domestic violence. Homelessness is a high risk, and there's many reasons for that. Mostly, unfortunately, it's men who end up being homeless. So we have to draw this attention to men and help them and guide them towards self-reflecting and looking into the ways of finding a solution to stopping the violence, all forms of violence, really. And then furthermore, why it's so important is, for example, UK between 2016 and 17 spent about 66 billion pounds on financially and socially. They lost 66,000 billion pounds. Imagine all that money if it's gone into NHS, into education, into improving our environment, making it greener, and etc. There's so much more we can do if we were to actually put a stop to violence, full stop. And of course, the violence towards women is very important because women have a major role in the family. Yeah. Women are those that are educating both men and women, future children. We need to empower them. And you were saying, I think earlier there was another question, how we can reinforce laws and policies so we can improve globally the position of women. I think definitely empowerment through economy. So there's so many, you were talking earlier about Africa in general, and I'm looking at my own country right now, a developing country, how much money is being put in making women independent financially. And the numbers have increased quite a bit, especially in the form of owning property, where in the past was about 10 or maybe even less than that. Now it's in a region of 30% owning property, which is something that is only been able to happen recently because of the investments from different global organizations. By empowering women economically in, finding jobs, educating them, of course. Once they are, because when you think of why women are not walking away from a violent relationship, there are 7 attempts before a woman can actually leave a violent relationship. And the reason why there are 7 attempts, it's many, and mostly it's economical or financial dependency. Because whether it's a woman or a man, the perpetrator usually, the first thing will control your finances. So if we educate, first of all, our women about the importance of being financially independent, that is the first step. And then, of course, raising awareness, what is really violence and what violence does, how can we actually stop this, and trust and educate professionals like myself, understanding the different cultures, understand perpetrators differently. Certainly, my parents were brought up in a different culture. They believe, my mom, until she died, she believed that my dad was right. He is the husband, and it's true. Recent studies in my country by UN showed that 37% of women, they agreed the husband could hit them if their dinner was burned. They had the right to beat their woman, their wife, if the dinner was burned. 37, almost half of the women interviewed. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Things are changing, but it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. Wow, I'm just blown away. To be quite honest, to just add to what you've just said, we do need to educate. That is very important. That's one of the most effective way for us to actually engage with male allies through education, awareness, and starting from a young age, from school. I think you mentioned it, Dr. Berksey, before. Yes.
I'm going to be quiet now. That's okay. One thing I always do with my organization since 2004, it was like have a program for women leadership. But what we teach them is educating themselves, auto-educating, because they already have the education, in the school, but they don't have the education how to know themselves, how they can defend themselves, how they can find the talent they have, they can actually create her own wealthy. So we do these free courses, conference, workshop with my mentor, Dr. Hector Geiger, who is a professor in Harvard and Columbia University, but now he's retired, and he's dedicating as a philanthropist to help my organization. And I can see the change. It's not much what we need to do. We can do a little bit, because I don't have a huge financial, the money I put in my organization is what I put myself or Heng or someone who helped. But we can see really working when we believe in leadership. We expertise in critical thinking and also creative leadership. So when we give you to them this workshop to other leaders in the community, we can see the changing in them. So until we have policies placed, until we change the whole economy in the world, we as a leader, we as a person say what we can change for them right now. But I start for myself, educating myself more so I can teach more. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just to mention in terms of financial independency, in Canada, they started this, universal salary. Mm-hmm. And the first effect is divorce. Yeah, there you are.
Thank you.
Another thing in UK, there's still a wage gap as well. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about developing countries, but in UK is a huge wage gap. So, I mean, there's no point us advocating for our own original countries when we actually live in a democratic, rich country, and we get paid a lot less than men. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just take this opportunity to promote a little bit of my organization. So we work with refugees and asylum seekers. We're based in Westbourne Park, and we help mostly women that escape all forms of violence. It could be modern slavery, it could be human trafficking, and it could be domestic violence in migrants, especially. We will help them with parenting programs, positive discipline, empowering them through education, learning English classes. So regardless of which community, please get to me. We'll teach IT skills as well. We are at the moment running another project which is called Democratic Participation, about rights, voting rights, registration rights, and learning about the democratic voice. In that journey, hopefully we're going to educate our women as well, who to approach if they have no support from the police, for example, if they're suffering in violence and nobody's helping, how to approach the MP, councillors, and etc. So please approach me if you need anything. But I definitely, I also can provide mental health first aid training, which we do for free. So let me know if you're interested as well. And thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Awesome. So we just have about just 2 questions to go. One is on overcoming social and cultural barriers, and that is, how can we effectively tackle cultural barriers that often prevent women from reporting violence or even seeking help, particularly in communities where gender roles are deeply entrenched?
Education, education, education. Religion, religious leaders, because a lot of it is unfortunately affiliated with religion as well. Religious leaders waking up.
Yeah.
People in charge of communities, educating. Because one thing I've learned in different cultures and different religions, sometimes the people are quite brainwashed by the hierarchy. And if that hierarchy can educate these people who are brainwashed about violence to women, about sexual violence, about anything and everything, really. Things about the human rights, full stop. There's a book that's on everyone's chair. It's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There's 30 articles. This is it here. I'd like to thank Stefan and his community from the All Faith Network. They are based in Blackfriars. Please do check them out. I've got an event there actually on the 28th of August. It's a stop trafficking event, and it's our own booklet launch as well. You are all welcome to come. Please do make yourself available. Yeah, Lorna will give the information. So, yeah, cultural norms, religious norms, it all has to be dispelled when it comes to violating or violation of human rights. And religious leaders and people who are leaders in communities, politicians, teachers, education from all these people is the way forward, because we cannot have our next generation grow up and keep on doing the same thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think you said it all, basically. I just wanted to probably add a little bit why some of the victims don't come forward. Sometimes it's also embarrassment. Honestly, it is embarrassing to admit that you're being abused by the love of your life, by the person that you actually trusted them. Sometimes violence doesn't start from the first day, it starts much later on. And there are many elements to it. The man might have been exposed to something that some perpetrators, they're born, or they actually, from the beginning, their purpose is to perpetrate, to actually commit crime or to hurt the person, the woman. But sometimes the perpetrators sort of build up that anger because of things happening in their life. It could be their mental health, it could be their loss, it could be losing their manhood. Anything could happen and cause that might lead to the violence towards the women. And I've seen women that actually took them so long to come to the terms, to accept the fact that, you know what, actually my love, it's hurting me, and I need to do something about it. So compassion, understanding, empathy, and time is very important in these cases. But much more, very important to remember, if it happens to anyone, guys, kids are very important. And remember that 20% of children in UK that are being brought up in families with a DV perpetrator. So if we don't care about ourselves, at least let's care about the future generation. Do it for our own kids. Do something about it. And if you don't want to share information with anyone, you don't want to approach organizations such as ours, there is an app called, sorry, I had it here all along, that we used to use in an organization that I used to work. It's called a Bright Sky. So if you go into the apps right now, it's a mobile free app. You can download that and you can share that with any of your friends, members of the community, for free. There's a lot of information in there.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent. So just one more.
In Spain, they have a saying that I will try to translate it. It would be something like, we have been breastfeeding. Talking about culture. I have a client that she was being mistreated, beaten up by her partner. They never got married. They have 2 children. When talking to her mom was saying that is all right. She shouldn't take any action because that's normal. At least as she grew up back in the farms in Spain. Talking to her, pointing out that she's being abused, She started to rise up, but unfortunately for her, she has settled status, so no immigration issues, but she has no education, no university, and her partner is a wealthy person having a house in Notting Hill, one street down the station, very posh house, and he claimed he is a pro. She is useless, she is nothing, she is rubbish with these words. Yeah. She told me all of that crying. After 2 months of patience and passion to take action, one day we were talking about her situation, and when claim again that he is a pro, he will crush her, he will deport her, he will stay in the house, keep the children, and she will be evicted, and so on. And I said, no, under the law, it's not that possible, it's not that easy. Yeah, but he's very rich and he has connections. Yeah, but this is not Spain and it's not Peru. So sometimes something might happen, okay, but if you have a good defense, if you have a good advice, you could fight back. And one day, when again she said, he is a pro, and I said to her, he will fall as a pro. She laughed. She laughed, grabbed the phone, called the police.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you to all our incredible panelists. That's the last question for this panel. And, it's really important for us to continue the conversation. And your insights and your expertise has been very much valuable in shedding a light into the complexities of violence against women, and for us to step into ways for us to find different solutions to many of the problems that we've discussed today. And so some of the key takeaways that we've been able to address is been that we've talked about prevention through education. We talked about education quite a lot, which is about investing in early education to teach the young people about gender equality, consent, and healthy relationship, especially schools and communities where we can actually implement those programs that would challenge the harmful gender stereotypes and also promote respect and empathy. Also, we talked about male allyship. Amazing, you're going to be starting a group, is that right, for male?
I think so.
Fantastic.
So
that deserves a round of applause, definitely. And so, part of supporting male allyship is about encouraging men to become more active allies in the fight against violence, about educating themselves and also being able to challenge toxic masculinity and also intervene when they witness abuse behavior. Another key takeaway, it's about really expanding support services for survivors, which is about ensuring that survivors of violence have access to comprehensive support service, including emergency shelters, housing, counselling, and also financial aid and legal assistance. And so thank you so much to all our panelists. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.